Pause for a moment and think about this. Why does the word Freemasons still trigger curiosity, fear, and fascination all over the world? I am not here to expose secrets or scare anyone. I am here to understand. Because when I started researching this topic, I realized that the truth is far more interesting than the rumors. For many people, Freemasons are surrounded by mystery. Symbols, closed meetings, quiet traditions. Some believe they control history, others think they hide forbidden knowledge. But most of these ideas are built on imagination, not facts. When I looked closer, I discovered that Freemasonry did not begin as a secret organization. It began as a community of builders, stoneworkers, architects, people who worked with their hands and their minds. They needed precision, structure, and trust. Over time, their practical knowledge turned into a symbolic language. That is where the symbols come from. Not magic, not spells, but tools. The square, the compass, the measurements. These were signs of balance, limits, and order. Even today, science tells us that the human brain understands a world through patterns and geometry. What surprised me most was how often Freemasonry is connected to education and self-improvement. Many historical records show that lodges were places where people discussed ideas, ethics, and personal growth. Not power, but understanding. Of course, secrecy plays a role. But secrecy does not always mean danger. Sometimes it means tradition. Sometimes it means focus. In psychology, closed groups often create stronger discipline and responsibility among their members. As I continued learning, I realized something important. The mystery around Freemasons grows because people fear what they do not understand. When information is limited, imagination fills the gaps. This is how myths are born. The real question is not what are they hiding? The real question is why do we need them to be mysterious? And this is only the beginning of the story. As I went deeper into this topic, I stopped asking what Freemasons believe and started asking how their symbols work. Not emotionally, but mentally, because symbols are not just decorations. They are tools for the human mind. Modern science confirms this. The brain processes images faster than words. Simple shapes carry meaning before we even realize it. A circle suggests unity. A straight line suggests direction. Balance between them creates a sense of order. This is not mysticism. This is neuroscience. Freemason symbols are built on these principles. The square represents limits and fairness. The compass represents freedom within those limits. Together, they form a visual lesson about balance. This idea appears in psychology, education, and even modern design theory. Geometry plays a key role here. Long before advanced technology, humans used shapes to understand reality. From ancient architecture to modern engineering, geometry connects thought and structure. Freemasonry preserved this language in symbolic form. Many people see rituals and assume something dangerous or supernatural. But research in psychology shows that rituals help the brain focus. Repetition, structure, and symbolism increase memory and emotional control. Schools, sports teams, and even daily routines use the same principles. In this way, Freemasonry appears less mysterious and more human. It uses symbols to teach ideas that are difficult to explain with simple words. Responsibility, discipline, self-awareness. What is often misunderstood is secrecy. From a scientific point of view, limited access increases perceived value. The brain becomes more attentive when information is not freely available. This effect exists in learning, marketing, and social behavior. So the symbols are not hiding power. They are organizing attention. Understanding this changed how I see Freemasonry. It is not a system built to control others. It is a system designed to train the individual mind. And once you see that, the mystery starts to feel different. At this point, I started noticing a pattern. The more people talk about Freemasons, the less they talk about facts. Power is often mentioned, but rarely explained. This is where myths begin. Many believe Freemasons influence governments, money, and global events. These ideas spread easily because they offer simple answers to complex problems. Psychology explains this clearly. When the world feels uncertain, the brain looks for hidden controllers. This does not mean Freemasons have no influence at all. Like any organized group, they include people from different professions. But influence is not the same as control. Science shows that large-scale control requires open systems, not secret ones. Another reason these myths survive is confirmation bias. People notice symbols only after they expect to see them. A building becomes suspicious not because of evidence, but because of interpretation. The brain connects dots even when they are unrelated. Neuroscience calls this pattern recognition. It is a natural survival skill. But in modern society, it often creates false conclusions. This is how ordinary architecture turns into hidden messages. I also realized that Freemasons rarely respond to accusations. Silence allows imagination to grow. But silence does not always mean guilt. In many traditions, silence is a form of discipline, not defense. What fascinated me most was this: people do not fear Freemasons themselves. They fear the idea that someone understands the rules of the world better than they do. Knowledge feels like power when it is unevenly distributed. In reality, most of what Freemasonry teaches is public in different forms. Ethics, self-control, learning, responsibility. These are not secret weapons. They are difficult habits. The myth of absolute power is more comfortable than the truth, because the truth demands personal effort. And this brings us to the final question. After everything I learned, one thought stayed with me. The real secret of Freemasonry is not hidden in symbols, buildings, or closed doors. It is hidden in human behavior. Freemasonry survives not because it controls the world, but because it understands something very simple. People search for meaning. They want structure. They want to feel that knowledge has depth. Science supports this idea. The brain is motivated by progress and belonging. When learning feels intentional and structured, motivation increases. Freemasonry uses tradition and symbolism to create that structure. This does not make it dangerous. It makes it human. What truly keeps people watching, questioning, and believing is the feeling that there is always something more to discover. Mystery creates focus. Focus creates discipline. Discipline creates growth. And this is where many misunderstand the idea of secrecy. Secrecy is not always about hiding information. Sometimes it is about protecting attention. In a noisy world, focus becomes rare and valuable. Freemasonry does not promise control over others. It offers control over the self. That is far less dramatic, but far more difficult. In the end, the question was never about Freemasons. It was about us. About why we are drawn to hidden meanings, quiet symbols, and ancient traditions. If you reach this moment, consider this. Maybe the reason secret societies feel powerful is because they remind us of something we lost: patience, curiosity, and the discipline to learn slowly. And perhaps the greatest secret is not who they are, but who we could become if we chose understanding over fear.